Hello, everybody. I'll wait for people to get here. Hello, hello, hello. I tell you, I'll be glad when YouTube is finished doing its weird stuff with the streaming. It's going to be a little frustrating. Hi, Claire. And then I run out of paper on my printer. It's like, yay, I'm out of paper. Only got to print out part of it, but I have it on a document, so we're good. Hi, Lucky. Good to see you. Because of some things people have told me recently of experiences they've had with, I'll turn this back on. With doppelgangers. I'll tell you some stories, but first I want to share this, is that this is not as uncommon. My hair's still wet, sorry. Not as uncommon as you think it is. It happens to a lot of people. They see someone they know really well in some place, either home or out and about, and they end up, unable to communicate with them. They don't acknowledge them, or they look at them funny, and they have a funny feeling when they see them, or not, or they just think, well, why didn't they say hello? And then they go home and there's the person been there all the time, or vice versa. They've been at work and you saw them at home. And I think this is something that people have seen. And I think that the deathbed visions people have, where someone dies and they appear in front of a loved one right at the time that they pass, is the same kind of thing. That a lot of the times they can't communicate, they just appear. There was an account of a family that had a son at a war, and they saw him walking up the lane. They go out to greet him, and he's not there, and then they get word that he just passed at that same time. So I think this is all related to the doppelganger phenomenon. So I'll start out with what a doppelganger is, according to Wikipedia, is a non-biologically related lookalike or double of a living person, sometimes portrayed as a ghostly or paranormal phenomenon and usually seen as a harbinger of bad luck. And there's, other traditions of stories equate a doppelganger with an evil twin. But I'm the evil twin, right? Maybe they're the good twin. Now, The Graveyard Shift is an online kind of a forum magazine, and they have some Redditors that have contributed. And there's someone whose name is Quiet Voice 4846. It says Quiet Voice, so I think they mean quiet. This person might have a bladder issue or something, but anyway, they say late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can see myself still standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye. It is like the other me is watching me leave the bathroom. It terrifies me to the point where I almost run out without looking directly in the mirror. I think it's Tony of Ghost Stories Online that says he won't look at mirrors at night at all. He hates mirrors, especially at night. And they say it's a gateway into the other dimension. So I never told my husband about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Earlier today, I took a nap in our bed while he sat in the chair next to it watching TV. When I woke up, he told me that he had seen me sit up and crawl backwards to the edge of the bed and stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. He's watching TV. We have pretty good peripheral vision. Our hair doesn't get in the way. So he thought it was weird. You think? You think he would turn his head and look? Was the TV that interesting, really? He thought it was weird I got up like that because I'm in the last month of my pregnancy. Any of you ladies know, I know. If you don't know what it's like, you can imagine. 9 months along, you are a beached whale. Especially if you have a pretty good sized baby in there and a lot of... Hi, Mindy. How are you, sweetheart? Especially if you're that pregnant, you're not very mobile. She says, I was in the last month of my pregnancy and I can't really move so well without it hurting. So he tried talking to me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there and still sleeping in bed. I got really creeped out and I finally told him about what I have been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't want to really talk about it anymore because he thinks it will give whatever it is power or energy. Well, we know that's true sometimes. If you're in the house that you're living in is having weird stuff going on, you don't talk about it there. Yeah, don't talk about it there. I have no idea what it wants or why we both have seen it. End of story 1. Oh, there's a lot of them. A terrifying mother who locked herself away, from Redditor Hyperham 51197. I kind of like that, Hyperham. That's a cute handle. I remember one time I was talking to my dad in a hallway of my house once. I don't really remember what it was about. We both saw my mom clearly walk past us and into her room, shutting the door. I walked back out into the living room. My mom was still on the couch, albeit asleep. I looked back at my dad and he looked at me and we were both terrified. We both crept over to their bedroom and looked at the closed door. Neither of us went inside. We were freaked. I'm pretty sure my dad slept on the floor that night. You don't know what people suffer. They don't talk about this stuff. And they wonder why so many people believe in paranormal. When you experience something like this, it's a little hard to say, oh, it's all my imagination, especially when it's with someone else who's there. Here's one that's pretty creepy. A fake mom beckoning her daughter away from Redditor G4YFL3RL. Girl for your real. I'm not going to try to figure. It's like some of the license plates. Sometimes you just can't figure them out. When I was 9, I stayed home sick from school. I distinctly remember that I wasn't actually sick. Simply playing hooky to avoid the mean kids, as I did a lot around that age. Isn't that sad? It's bullying. I awoke from a nap, turned on the TV in our living room, and scrolled through some channels when my mother, they like to use quotes, suddenly leaned over the bar and stared at me without saying anything. I had been awake for a few minutes at this point, so I can't rightly blame sleep paralysis for all of this. Now, whatever this thing was, it was entirely identical to my actual mother. Sounds weird to describe, but it's as if the only difference was that this thing pretending to be my mom had never felt an emotion in its life. It was robotic, I guess. No soul inhabiting. I mean, you can tell. I mean, I don't really want to go into that. Never mind. It beckoned me. And I attempted to talk to her as I would my mother. She kept beckoning. That's got to be creepy. Refusing to answer, and that's when I sensed something horribly wrong. Finally, she senses something horribly wrong. Some people a little slow, I think. I don't know. The whole scenario felt disgustingly familiar, but I'll get into that later. Naturally, I started screaming at this point, my first choice, to answer me. Answer me! It just kept beckoning. I bolted, running out of the room and into the yard yelling for help. Maybe it was doing this. I don't know. What mother? No mothers do that. They scream at you, get here now. Well, they don't beckon you. My real mother had been working in the yard and came rushing over when she heard me scream. I told her I'd just seen what I'd just seen, and she soothed me with easy explanations that it must have been a fever dream. But she wasn't sick. That's what Mom didn't know. But thankfully stayed by my side the rest of the afternoon as I was a nervous wreck. My goodness. Here's another story from Redditor Celestial Spirit. Spirit? Something like that. Younger mother bringing in groceries. When I was about 16 or 17, I was really into doing the Ouija board. Red flag number 1. Other stuff happened, but the doppelgangers were definitely the worst. The first one was my mom. I heard her come in, and my best friend was with me. She and I walked down to greet her. She looked like a younger version of my mom and was carrying groceries. So I tried calling out to her, but she didn't respond and walked into my brother's room. Then I got a sick feeling. I called out to her, but she didn't respond. Still, so I followed her up. She was not there. When I walked back down, my real mom had come in and didn't know what was going on. She was also wearing a different outfit and apparently looking older again. The next one was my brother. My mom was talking to him on the phone, and he said he was on his way home. As soon as he hung up, my brother walked in the door. He talked to us for a little. Well, Mom wanted him to take out the garbage or something, and then walked into the bathroom. He'd been in the bathroom like 15 minutes. Then I got the sick feeling again. I asked if he'd fallen in or something. Then My real brother walks in and was freaked out. My mom checked on him all night to make sure he was okay. Makes you wonder, is it the people that cause these events, or is it the environment, or some kind of weird combination of the two? That's weird. I don't know. Hi, Obs. I'm not sure I want to show what you said, but we're all grown-ups here, so I will. Language. Thank you about the video. I appreciate it. I think screaming, I don't think people scream as much as they do in the movies. I think it would take a lot for me to put out a real scream. But I mean, I'm sure it's possible. You're having deja vu, Claire? Oh God. Anyway, so Mom even she was smart enough to believe that there was something weird going on. It's really annoying when someone in the house says this has been going on, and then have a parent just poo-poo it and say, "Oh, you're just imagining." We're not that imaginative. Come on. We're not that prone to hallucination, especially not, more than one person. But she knows something. Both times they had darker eyes, and it felt sort of like a dream, but I was definitely awake and other people witnessed it. So, we have the dark-eyed thing going on here, denoting a lower energy, something that doesn't have light, God's light in them, if you will. I think you see anything like that, I think it's a way that we've been blessed with perceiving something dangerous. And we should pay attention to that, because it doesn't happen very often. And next one's called Doppelgangers That Refuse to Speak. From Redditor Dond on Don. Both times that my family experienced doppelgangers, the doppelgangers refused to respond when spoken to. The first was my sister's doppelganger, who my brother told to go downstairs for lunch. She did not answer. When my brother walked downstairs, he instantly saw my actual sister wearing a different shirt. She couldn't have passed my brother so quickly because the staircase led directly to our dining area. The second was my own doppelganger, who stood at my door at 12 p.m., mute and staring at my sister, who was using the computer. I wasn't actually home until 4 p.m. later that day after school. My sister didn't know that until she asked me why I was just staring at her without emotion earlier around noon. A missing brother from editor Bob Ross 0902. Oh, don't we all love Bob Ross? I'm so effing weirded out right now. What the actual F? I was sitting here on my computer when my brother walks in and sits down on his bed. He doesn't say anything. He's a quiet person, so that's kind of normal. He messes with his blue shirt in there. Then I go to the bathroom, walk back, and he's gone. Look outside in the car that he left in with my mom a few hours ago. Still isn't there. I go outside to see if anyone else is home that I could have mistook for him are here. Nope. I'm still home and alone. What the H? Apparently this person likes to use expletives. The doppelgangers make creepy parents. From Redditor Okoth. I woke up one morning to my dad going to the kitchen and stopping by to say, "Hey, wake up." And I took my phone and started watching YouTube. Of course, that's what most teenagers do when their father says, "Wake up." They get on their phone. I was awake for sure. Later, my mom was walking to the kitchen and did the same thing my mom and my dad had done. Apparently, mom comes by and says, "Hey, wake up." Then I get out of bed and I see that my parents are still in their room. I asked them if they asked me to wake up while walking to the kitchen. They said no. I don't know what it was. Can somebody please explain? Oh, here's one that's apparently this one is tied to a place. So I think perhaps it's a combination of the people and the place. Maybe. Fast food joint full of doppelgangers. How'd you like to work here? Listen to this. We had problems. Excuse me while I get a drink of water. Excuse me. We had problems with doppelgangers at a fast food joint that I worked at. I had 2 separate sightings myself. First, my general manager comes by to tell me and the register person to clean the lobby, then goes to the restroom. So he and I come up with a plan and wait for her to come out. Of course they do. You know, people are always pulling pranks at each other at work, right? Just to help the time go by. So he and I come up with a plan. They do that. We see her walk out of the restroom, walk by us, and walk into the lobby. We go catch her and no one is there. We turn around and she's walking out of the bathroom. We tell her that we just saw, but she didn't believe us. I got to go to because I have to go to my document. Second, manager and I are in the prep area. One of the girls who's working up front walks back and right into the walk-in cooler. After 5 minutes of waiting, the manager asked me to go check on her. She's in the cooler a little long. I open the walk-in door and there's no one in there. As I am trying to explain this to my manager, the girl in question walks into the prep area from the front. Needless to say, the manager believed me and finally believed what had happened in the first sighting. From Redditor Shubbykins, family members showing up at home. The first one was my husband. I turned into the hallway and saw him there, walking away from me and towards the bedroom at the opposite end. I called to him, but he didn't respond. As soon as he entered the bedroom, he turned to the left. There's a wall there, not even any windows. Apparently he walked into like a wall. Goes in the door, turns left, and there's a wall there. I followed him to the bedroom, but there's no one there. My husband had been upstairs the entire time. Second time was my dad. He was unloading some things from his truck and was going to bring them in through the back door, which opens to the kitchen. I was in the kitchen and heard a noise at the door, through the window in the door. I saw my dad bending over as though he was trying to untie his shoes or tie them. I ran to the door and opened it, but there was no one there. My dad was still in the truck. Both times had been a family member. Both times I hadn't seen their faces. Neither event felt wrong in any way or sinister. The movements were exactly like they would move, and so they totally baffled by that. Okay. Now here's one called Gentleman T-Bone Redditor. Puzzling brother baffles his sister. Similar thing happened when I was living at my sister's house in college. My room was in the basement. Oh, my favorite place. And the bathroom was on the second floor. One morning, she saw me in the hallway mirror behind her, walking towards the bathroom in the same clothes I was wearing. She said good morning, but I didn't even look like I noticed. I then came upstairs about 5 minutes later, and she seemed puzzled, thinking I was already upstairs. Freaked her out. Now, if we could just do this on purpose to people. That'd be kind of fun to freak out your friends and family. Here's from Grillo7 Redditor. The disappearing husband. My wife said she saw me standing in the kitchen doing something while I was actually at work at the time. She initially thought I had come home from work and was worried, and then the figure of me apparently vanished, which was naturally even more upsetting. No more occurrences before or since then. He just really wanted to be home. Okay, now here's an excuse kids can use. Getting the blame for a doppelganger's actions. When I was in middle school, I was at a friend's apartment. She lived with her mom. Her mom was cool, let us party there. I don't think that's cool. And she was always at work for long hours. There was a group of us here, maybe 6 people or so. Everyone was in the living room except for this couple who were in mom's bedroom with the doors closed and lights off. I wonder what they were doing. We had gotten pretty baked. I had just had myself a snack, was walking to my friend's bedroom, which was right past the mom's room, where the couple was. As I walked past the mom's bedroom door out of the corner of my eye, I saw the door opening from the inside, and a partial face head looked identical to my friend's mom, who was not at home, peeking out. I didn't think anything of it since there's so many people in the small apartment, and let's remember, they're baked. And kept walking and sat in my friend's room. A minute later, the girl who'd been messing around in that bedroom came out and yelled at me and asked me why I had kicked the door open. I told her I saw someone come out of there, and she was adamant that I'd walked by and kicked the door open. The more I thought about it, the weirder it was. I thought she was messing with me at first, but the person I saw didn't look like anyone that was there at the time, so it looked so much like the mom. If it were her, it would have meant she had somehow snuck back into the apartment after being gone for hours, hidden in her room in the dark for over an hour while this couple was messing around in her bed, and then she'd have to discreetly leave the bedroom and pass the living room full of people to get to the front door. Yeah, sure, moms do that, right? Disappearing. I call them husbands, not husbands. Now here's one. This is interesting. It's called from Redditor Baby Kitten 28, a canine doppelganger. This is a little story that's probably not worth telling, but a couple of friends got a kick out of it. I let my dog out at midnight one night, left the door ajar for him to come back in, then went about making some soup and something to drink. After a couple minutes, I hear this distinctive 2 long toenails trotting back on the wood flooring. Anybody who's had a dog, our dachshund, it was like click, 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 click. You could always tell when she was up and around. It was the cutest sound. And, they can hear this on the wood flooring. I lock up the door and return to my meal. Then I hear my dog barking from outside. Any dog owner knows that there's no mistaking those toenails. So I was a little shocked that he was somehow back outside. What had come in? It really didn't really spook me, but, makes you rethink the nature of reality, doesn't it? Now, here's an interesting one, which, let me read you guys stuff. Memory bubble. Subject close to an experience I had in 95, saw my housemate walk into the living room, but I could see right through him. It looked at me, smiled, then vanished. I think maybe sometimes these are like astral bodies. We're supposed to have several energy bodies and astrals. One of them looks just like us, can be seen by some people. Maybe that's what that was. And that's creepy, memory. A lot of people have had these experiences and just never talked about them because it just sounds too strange. Now, this story is from I Am Not Harry Seldon. And the story is meeting a girl who already knows who you are. Apparently, I don't know, is the expression baked a British expression when you get really stoned? Baked? Just wondering. because this one also says, so I had just gotten really baked at my friend's apartment. Walking home in broad daylight down the sidewalk ahead of me, I see two young girls, instantly recognizable as Mormon missionaries. They get maybe 50 feet away from me. One of them waves and calls me by name. We meet, one of the girls gives a friendly hello, acts like she knows me. Bear in mind, I'm pretty stoned. So I'm trying to figure out if I know her from somewhere, but she catches on that I don't recognize her and acts kind of offended. So she reminds me that we had some big, long conversation on her friend's porch on such and such street just a few days prior. Now, at this point in my life, I smoked a lot of weed, but I never drank or did anything else, and I'm going to random parties, and charming, pretty young blondes was completely off the menu. I was already half in love from the moment she smiled at me. I don't think I would have forgotten this long, engrossing conversation we apparently had had. Now, her expression, I remember, I'm going to read the conversations in a second here. Now, her expression, I remember, as I stumbled through this conversation, she thought first I was joking, then she thought I was mean, then she looked as confused as I was. So I suggest maybe it was my brother you met? She looks at me skeptically, not unless he's your identical twin. Me and my brother look like brothers, but you never confuse one for the other. So we awkwardly, confusedly parted ways. I don't remember the other girl saying anything. Then it dawns on my dumb, stoned brain, she knew my name. I turn around, they're a few hundred feet away. I yell, wait, how did you know my name? Well, they didn't hear me, and I foolishly couldn't muster the courage to run to catch up with them. That stuff bothered me for weeks. I wanted to know what we talked about. Okay, memory bubble. What's got? Yeah, my mate and I were having nightmares. A few nights where I had sleep paralysis. Mate heard 3 knocks on the bed frame. That's supposed to be mocking the Trinity. Three knocks. I mean, most of us knock 3 times. So I'm not sure if it does or not. But house was haunted. Moved not long after that. Yeah. What really gets me is I'm relatively sensitive, and I have a hard time, people going into a place and not picking up on that there's something. I guess a lot of people just ignore it because the price is right, that sort of thing. There's a website, let's see, control, called scaryforkids.com. Which I recommend. It's got some good stuff on it. I'll put the links up when I'm done. Let me check. Yeah. Number 1, I was the doppelganger. I'm going to have to get my phone so I can see the chat. There we go. One morning I was asleep in my bedroom when I was awakened by my brother yelling at me from downstairs and asking me what I was doing. The moment he saw me coming down the stairs, his face went pale, and there was a look of shock and fear in his eyes. What's wrong? I asked. Just then I heard the bathroom door at the end of the hallway slam shut. It was strange because we were the only 2 people in the house. My brother said he'd just seen me walk by him less than a minute ago, and as I passed, I had given him a creepy smile. That's why he yelled at me and asked what I was doing. I'll turn down the... He said I didn't pay attention to him and just kept walking down the hallway. Then he turned around and he saw me coming down the stairs and got the shock of his life. We ran down the hallway and checked the bathroom, but it was empty. Number 2, this one's called Mom, Mom, Mom with question marks. One night when I was 9 years old, I woke up around 3 a.m. and saw my mom standing in the door of my bedroom. Something wasn't quite right. Something about her was off. She looked pale, almost see-through, and she was just standing there in my doorway, staring at the wall. Mom? I asked in a worried voice. She started moving towards my bed very slowly, and the whole time I kept asking, Mom? 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 But she never answered. When she finally reached the head of my bed, and just as she was about to touch me, she was reaching out very slowly. She suddenly vanished. I immediately freaked out and opened their door. I saw both my parents lying in bed fast asleep. To this day, it still creeps me out when I remember that thing coming towards me very, very slowly. The garage roof. Oh, Claire, you're going to be okay. I'll send my fairies over there to keep you safe. The garage roof. I was 10 years old and was playing hide and seek with my older sister in the backyard. When I finished counting, I started to look for her. I was surprised to find her crouching on the garage roof. She was just staring down at me and grinning from ear to ear. I thought it was strange and yelled at her to come down. She didn't move a muscle. She just stayed there grinning. Yes. Who are you talking to? I turned around and my sister was standing there. To this day, I don't know who or what was crouching on the garage roof. Our house is over 50 years old, and a long time ago, someone apparently died in a fire in that garage. You can still see the burn marks in the old wood. Oh, my. Okay. The other me, number 4. My friends and I once spent the night in a haunted hotel. It was the Congress Plaza in Chicago. There were 3 of us together, myself and my 2 friends who were girls. We booked a twin room, so I slept in one bed and they slept in the other. When we woke up in the morning, one of my friends was being really quiet. Yeah, my hair's still wet, driving me crazy. We asked her, she was really quiet. Her face was pale and she was trembling. We asked her what was wrong, but she didn't want to tell us. After some coaxing, she said, it was probably just a dream. I'm sure it was. It had to be a dream. She said she'd woken up in the middle of the night. The room was in darkness. She saw me standing there in the dark. I was facing the wall and had my back to her. Have we heard this scenario before where they stand facing a wall or walking into a wall and that sort of thing. I think that's something we saw in another story. She said she sat up in bed and called my name, but I didn't respond. She asked what I was doing, but I didn't answer her. Then she looked over at my bed and saw me under the covers, sleeping peacefully. Then she looked back across the room, and the other me was gone. I do want to read to you one particular story that's from long ago about a lady named, I'll do some more of the current ones, Emily Sagi, or Sage, French woman. Emily never saw her doppelganger, but everyone else did. Sage, or Sage, I'll just call her Emily, worked in an exclusive girls' school. She was a very good teacher, but for some reason, she kept moving from one job to another. In 16 years, she changed positions an impressive 19 times. In 1845, the school found out why. She was allegedly the center of some very strange doppelganger activity. Her spectral twin was first seen during the class as 13 students witnessed the doppelganger standing by her side and mirroring her movements. Next, it stood behind her as she ate, pantomiming her movements. That's creepy. She herself was completely oblivious to the apparition, despite the fact that everyone else could see it clearly. However, she did become strangely groggy and powerless during the times the doppelganger manifested, and the wraith was often seen doing things. She later said that she'd been thinking about it at the moment, suggesting that she may have had some subliminal control over it. Soon the doppelganger ventured beyond the immediate vicinity. At first, it appeared to a classroom full of students, sitting calmly in the teacher's chair, while she was herself outside, working in the garden. Few people who dared approach the doppelganger found they could pass right through it, yet it had a texture that reminded them of thick fabric. So maybe they're made of, maybe she was made of, ectoplasm or something. Time went by, and the apparition became a permanent fixture of the school's life, freaking out people on a regular basis. The girls' concerned parents started removing the children from school, and of course, they had no option but to fire her again. Not even her fault. Now, this story is called Green Shirt and Denim Jeans. One day I was home alone and lying on the couch taking a nap. I heard the garage door slam and my brother walked by. The weird thing about that was my brother didn't say a word. He just turned his head and smiled at me. Another recurring theme. It was a very strange, unnerving smile. He was grinning from ear to ear. I thought it was odd, but I didn't think much more about it. Hadn't seen my brother all day, and I noticed he was wearing a green shirt and denim jeans. 3 hours later, my parents come home, and my brother was with them. I turned to my mom and said, "But he was here a few hours ago." My mother gave me a strange look. "I just picked him up," she said. "He hasn't been home all day." And what was my brother wearing? Of course, a green shirt and denim jeans. Mommy is floating. When my son was 2 years old, he would often get up in the morning and wander around the house before my wife and I were awake. Oh, God. Parents' worst nightmare. Put a bell on them. Oh, little stinkers. One morning when I woke up, I came downstairs to find him in the kitchen. He was pointing at something and laughing. I asked him what he was pointing at, and he said, "Mommy is floating in the kitchen." I didn't think much about it at the time, but an hour later, my wife came downstairs and she had said she had just woken up from a strange dream. In the dream, she found herself floating out of her body, and she remembered floating down the stairs into the kitchen. So this is, I think this is kind of a tie into astral projecting, I think. There's got to be something involved in that to some degree. I mean, some of it may not be you astral projecting. I think some of them are definitely of a darker flavor than that. I was 24, worked in an office. One morning, my alarm didn't go off and I overslept. When I woke up, I was already 30 minutes late for work. I got dressed as fast as I could, raced to my office, worried that I'd be fired for being late, made it to the office, parked my car, ran into the building. As I stepped off the elevator, I noticed people giving me weird looks. Everyone was staring at me. I started to panic because it was all as if they knew that I was going to be fired or something. When I saw my desk, things started to go weird to terrifying. Someone was sitting in my cubicle, typing on the computer. It was a man. He turned his head and looked over his shoulder. Our eyes met, and I felt blood freeze in my veins. The man sitting at the desk was me. He had the same clothes, the same hair, the same face. He looked at me, startled, and he started to frantically pack up his papers. As I was walking towards him, he suddenly darted out of the cubicle and ran around the corner. I ran after him, hoping to catch him, but as I turned the corner, there was nobody there. Even worse, everyone was looking at me like I was crazy. I checked the entire office, no trace of him. I asked my workmates who had been at my desk. They said my desk has been empty all morning. They hadn't seen anyone. I felt like I was going crazy because no one else saw this guy who looked exactly like me sitting at my desk. The way he ran away, it was as if he were doing something he shouldn't have been doing. I went into the bathroom, splashed some water in my face. I remember looking at my reflection in the mirror and feeling very uneasy at the sight of it. This is one of the creepiest moments of my life. I quit my job at the end of the week and never went back. It's been years since that incident, but I still find looking at my own reflection in a mirror strangely troubling. There you go. Now, there's another website called Mysterious Universe. Sinister encounters with evil doppelgangers. Oh, it's going to get better. One day, the witness came home to find grandmother simply sitting there staring at the closet without moving. She wasn't moving along, they said. It was like she was suspended in the middle of cleaning the closet. I asked her if she was okay, but she totally ignored me. My 85-year-old grandmother just continued to stare into the closet. Suddenly, she turned her head slowly and gave me the coldest of stares. She had the evilest eyes I'd ever seen. A chill ran up and down my spine. Those were not my grandma's eyes, I thought. Then she looked away from me and walked into the closet, closing the door behind her. When I went to the closet, she wasn't there. She literally disappeared into thin air, completely gone. I froze for a few seconds. No one likes closets, do they? And I yelled for her and heard her say, "I'm down here in the kitchen. Dinner's almost ready." I ran into the kitchen to find her standing there cooking away. When I asked her if she'd been here the whole time, "Of course I was, dear. Dinner's not going to make itself." Isn't that a typical grandma expression? She laughed. I mean, she had no idea what had gone on upstairs. What did I find in my bedroom that day? I still have no idea. Another such encounter concerns an apparent doppelganger of a girl attempting to lure a young woman to her death. I told you it was going to get darker. The witness tells of how she and her family had been out one day in 2015. Excuse me, I don't sleep well. For for seashells out on the beach when her 4-year-old daughter said she wanted to continue, even though the weather was starting to look like a storm was brewing. The woman's older daughters had gone off to have lunch at a nearby cottage. Soon the 4-year-old also went off to join them. The mother made sure her youngest daughter had caught up with them and went back to seashell hunting. She said she walked for a further 20 minutes before the waves started to get more treacherous and the weather stormier, and she started to make her way back. At this point, the woman explained that she had a sudden feeling of inexplicable dread, and then she looked out to see the very same 4-year-old daughter she just sent on her way out in the rough seas, struggling for her life. She would say of what happened next, "I have never seen such a rough sea, so I turned back with a feeling of unexplained dread. I couldn't shake it. I looked out into the ocean. I could have sworn I saw my 4-year-old drowning in the waves. I knew with absolute certainty she was safe back in the cottage with her father and siblings, but yet there she was, drowning in the rough seas. I started wading into the water to try to help her. I was in a total state of panic. I was crying and absolutely hysterical. I knew that if I went into the water, I would drown. But there I was, going, even though I knew it wasn't really my baby out there. I felt like something wanted me to go into the water so I would die. I had to fight the instinct to help her. Keep in mind that the thing in the water was a spitting image of her. I took off running to the cottage, crying the entire time. My young daughter greeted me at the door. I was never in my life so happy to see her. To this day, I am convinced that the thing in the water was her doppelganger trying to lure me to my own death. I know what they say about you can only see your own double, but I wonder. Hope I never have this happen again. I hope that this never happened to anyone who's reading this. Desire to go in the water was stronger than any force I have ever known." As a side, the doppelganger is a German word that means double walker. And that's just a little tidbit of information. Let me go back up here and see if there's... Okay. This is from Disturbing Tales of Doppelgangers from listverse.com. Well, we always have scientists telling me these are just electric glitches of the brain or mental illnesses or schizophrenia or something. And I think that this is, from the stories you've heard, I think we've ruled out most of that. There's some famous people who had seen their doppelgangers, including Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, met his doppelganger, Catherine the Great, Percy Shelley, the husband of Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, and Queen Elizabeth I. Abraham Lincoln, of course, saw his double in the mirror. One double looked like him, the other one looked a sickly version, and it was foreseen by his wife that that was a thing to say that he would be elected for a second term, but he would die in office, that the second face was deathly. He had lots of paranormal experiences, and it was a big deal. It was really, spiritualism was really starting to pick up around then. George Tryon, of course, Emily Sager. So you have some publicly documented things that have happened. Okay, let me pull up this thing and see what I have. Okay. On mysteriousuniverse.org, sinister experiences with evil doppelgangers. I think I probably put these on my... People don't know how to write. So sometimes they're very, they won't know what paragraphs are for, commas and things like that. Apparently, Abraham Lincoln saw his lookalike in 1860. He saw his reflection in the mirror, one face beside the other, saw this 3 times. And, his wife said that he would die. He knew he would die in office. I think she knew he would die in office. He would have premonitions. They weren't afraid to believe this sort of thing back then. They're generally seen as a bad omen. It's not usually a good thing to see one, but it could be just a glitch in which someone's astral body has gone. A lot of times people are asleep and the person they see is asleep. Now the Egyptian myths, doppelganger is basically same as the Ka. The Ka is thought as a spiritual double born in everyone. Whenever someone dies, their double, spiritual double, the Ka, lives on as long as they have somewhere to live, usually that person's body. This is why they mummify their dead. If they kept the body from decomposing, that means spiritual double had somewhere to live. And this promised eternal life for the Ka. According to Supernatural magazine, there's one more theory. A doppelganger could represent a parallel universe in which everything in this world is replicated in another dimension. Saying the doppelganger could be able to witness the other dimension. In fact, University physicist Brian Greene, author of the book The Hidden Reality, Parallel Universes and the Deep Laws of the Cosmos, and it says we all have doppelgangers. So you have this sort of thing going on. Now, those of us who are aware of the Mandela effect probably will think multiple timelines, time slips, dimension changes. I mean, I don't think it's just one thing we're seeing here. I think we're seeing a lot of things going on. Deathbed visions, is obviously, I think, the astral body traveling and going to place that they love. They feel this yearning to be with their loved ones. And the fact that somebody's at home when they're at work, they yearn to be home because they don't like it at work. There's that possibility. And it's hard to know. I know that there's a certain person that most of us know that his double has been seen recently by his children. And they're not prone to lying. They're very self-assured children. And they saw him come in from the front door when he was actually on his laptop or something in the other room. And they wouldn't believe him when he told them he's been there the whole time. So, it's a funny thing. I don't know if this is anything related, but I used to have dreams in which my mother was not my mother. She was some kind of different person. So whether this is something to related to it, I don't know. But you think the Mandela effect and stuff, it's like, we know that there's a lot more paranormal manifestations as we travel along. They're more acknowledged and seen by more people. So I think this might be the fabric of the dimensions breaking down somehow, or merging. I don't know. Some people say we're shifting up and that this is going to be as we're shifting to higher vibration, these barriers between the dimensions get thinner and we become more aware of things. Um, and I really don't know. I couldn't tell you because nobody knows what's going on really. But I just know there's more cryptid sightings. There's more people seeing these things, whether we're creating them through belief that we're able to manifest things as we travel through the timelines. If we're becoming more powerful, our thoughts are becoming more powerful and affecting the fabric of reality, fabric of perception. It's hard to know. It's hard to know. Um, yeah, I know your daughter loves Scott. Why doesn't everybody love Scott? Come on, we all love Scott. There's just something fun about him, and he's got a great sense of humor. And he's really smart. Well, thank you for coming by, Memory Bubble, and I am just about done. So I hope you enjoyed the stories, and don't forget, keep being curious, keep asking questions. Don't forget that this world's a strange place. It has wonderful and weird things in it. And just enjoy the journey as much as you can, because there's nothing else we can do. You either enjoy it or you don't, and you have a choice. You have a choice. You do. You have a choice of whether or not you find it interesting or frustrating. One more story. Okay, let me see. I'm sure I have one more story here. My dad used to work the night shift. He had to get up at 3 a.m. every morning to go to work. I would sometimes wake up and go downstairs to give him a hug before he left. And I find this hard to believe that supposedly they're 4, but I make a bet they were probably older. But I remember things when I was 4, so if it was really something that impressed you, you could remember it. I remember things when I was 3 and 4 and 5. One morning when I was about 4 years old, I got to the bottom of the stairs and noticed the front door was standing ajar. When I opened it, I saw my father walking down the driveway to his truck. He was dressed in his work uniform. I called out to him and asked him to come back and give me a hug before he left. He slowly turned around and just stared at me. He was giving me such a strange look that I started to get scared. I began crying and asking him what was wrong. He didn't answer, just kept walking towards me. Just before he reached me, I felt a pair of arms grab me from behind. I turned around and freaked out when I saw my father behind me. He was dressed in his work uniform, was staring at his doppelganger. The double took one look at my dad and ran down the driveway. My dad pulled me into the house and locked the door. I would have dismissed this just as an overactive 4-year-old imagination, but my father also witnessed it. He refused to talk about it, but my mom told me he was so freaked out he didn't go to work that day, and she spent the day reassuring him he wasn't nuts. So there you go. So apparently, it's interesting. That's odd behavior for a doppelganger. It makes you wonder if it was something else, something even more negative, if it runs away when you notice it, some kind of entity. I don't think they're all there's no simple explanation because their behavior varies. When they just disappear, I would figure it's probably just an astral body that was doing what it wanted to do, come home and not have to work or whatever. But that sort of thing was different. That was kind of weird. And maybe I think it was good that he didn't go to work because maybe something bad would have happened. It was like a warning, maybe. I don't know. Well, thank you for coming by, and I will try to get my cryptid video out this next week. I have to write the transcript for it. I've done the research. I try to do good work when I can. Yeah, if your doppelganger, behaves with some intelligence, like turns and smiles at you creepily, and it isn't just standing there and disappear. I mean, I would sage my house or something. I don't know. Pray, ask for protection, something, whatever works for you, whatever works for you. You all take care, and thank you for coming. And I'll try to get on time next week. I just kept hitting snooze. I said, I'm not getting up yet. You all be safe and skook out. Bye-bye.